This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 340.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash. 404 error. Page not found. Links aren't working. System is crashing. System is crashing. System is crashing.
Your old HTML website. Barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website. Better than it was before. Better. Stronger. Faster. We have the technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events, 2 events to talk about. We have WordSesh over on September 2nd, midweek this time around. I think it's always midweek usually. It is the European version. It's free. Check that out over at wordsesh.com. Also, we have a WordCamp next weekend on the 6th of September. It's already September, crazy. It's WordCamp Ogijima. It's in Japan. It's online actually, so it doesn't really matter where you are. And check that out as well. Cool website, by the way. I really like this homepage. It's really, really cool art. Check that out. I mean, at a bare minimum, go to the website and check that out. Very cool. All right, moving on to segment 1. In the news, 2 things here. WordPress iOS app had some drama with Apple about a week and a half ago. It's already been resolved. Apparently, Apple was forcing the iOS app to have in-app purchases. Matt Mullenweg put out a tweet saying, how do we resolve this? What's the options here? There are no in-app purchases for WordPress. The WordPress app on iOS, so it's already been resolved. Apple has withdrawn that requirement because I guess automatic or couldn't update the app itself because of this new requirement, but it's not a non-issue. So moving on that one. Drama, no drama. All right, and lastly in the news, my friend Helen reached a milestone over her daily blog over at anchoredscraps.com. She hit 2,000 blog posts back on August 17th. That's every day, 2,000 days. I mean, I'm pretty happy with my numbers here at Kitchen Sink, but she's kicking butt over there, so let's check it. That's awesome. Check her out over at anchoredscraps.com. All right. Moving on to the meat and potatoes of this week's episode, segment 2, I'm talking about 4 years later. That's right. This week, I want to give you an update. I'm celebrating 4 years since going out on my own, taking my agency over at Concierge WP full-time. The actual date is September 2nd, so it's a few days after this episode drops. And over the past months and weeks, I've had some questions posed to me, it's been a while coming, regarding running an agency. And I thought I'd save those questions for an episode and to share. And for those of you who've listened and been with me for a while, I did reviews back at month 3, month 6, 9, and 12 months. I did updates on how I was sharing how things were going once I went solo. So in no specific order, here are some thoughts and answers to the questions that have been asked from me or to me over the last couple years, but specifically in the last 3, 6, 9 months. So stuff like that. So here we go. When is planned is a common question. The answer is there's nothing. I say this because seriously, I thought I was going to be a freelancer. Like literally just a freelancer, doing small, medium-sized projects, subcontract for some other agencies, provide maintenance for services for a handful of clients I already had when I went solo, who asked for maintenance. And honestly, initially, I built Concierge WP to be only for maintenance, not as an agency. And on top of that, my wife gave notice at her full-time job a few months after I left my full-time job. So the runway of savings that I had for the year was cut down to 3 to 4 months maximum, which then led us to relocate into the East Coast to save money, to be closer to her base of operations, which ironically enough, she's a flight attendant for those who don't know. So the runway literally is, I should have seen that coming, I guess. So that's nothing really went as planned. My plan was to stay in LA. I didn't really think we'd be moving or relocating. That I'd have a year to get things up and going. I also actually had another contract that I thought was going to last longer, doing some work for another company, and that ended much sooner as well. So nothing really went as planned in the past 4 years, that is for sure. The follow-up question that comes from there often is when and what caused me to rethink how I was doing things and or pivot. And I've talked about this before. I mentioned it at conferences. I've talked about it here on the podcast, and I realized that my approach to getting clients wasn't working. I had this cold email thing that I would do with no plan for a follow-up, and it became an exercise in futility. It was like a shotgun approach, it really was. So what changed was about 3 years ago, investing the time and money into a CRM, and that made all the difference for me. I still use the CRM. I use Pipedrive. I've talked about it before. Though I don't use it in the sense, right? I use it for a lot for email and for tracking some things, but I'm not doing a lot of prospecting right now because I'm getting more word of mouth referrals. So client acquisition isn't a priority at the moment. Though, with that said, as times are crazy right now with COVID, I'm looking to do and re-engage a bit and do some prospecting in Q4 of this year to get some projects to start in Q1 of next year. So, it's not a done deal. There's always work to be done and to be acquired, if you will. Referrals, always easier. Put yourself out there, get referrals, word of mouth. It's the best type of work you can get because people come to you versus you have to kind of sell to them. So there's that. Additional questions would be like, what would I do differently? It's a very common one. And the simple answer is I would raise prices a lot sooner than I did, and I would niche down. So I'm still working on niching down. I raised prices many times. I doubled when I moved here, actually, to the East Coast. It was not right away, but like after the first year, I just doubled my base pricing. And I've already put pen to paper for brainstorming ideas on what I'm going to do for Concierge WP for that main website to reflect the niching down. So by 2021, which seems far off, but it's really not. We're going to be in September this week, so you have 4 or 5 months, and 2021 is around the corner. So I want to update our website. I want the team to know what my goals are, and we'll talk about the team here in a minute. So that's what I'm working to niche down to really pick the 2 categories that have overlap that I think will justify where I'm going in the future. So the other thing I would have done differently in this case and sooner was implement profit first. Not really knowing my expenses were wasn't good. Not knowing that where money's going, not ideal. Putting up money aside for profit, for taxes, for owner pay, which I've been doing since March, April of this year, has been awesome. I want to credit Renee, a friend of mine, for kind of pushing me that way. I've talked about it for a long time. I'm actually up to date right now on my finances, on my Quicken. I'm balanced, I'm reconciled, and it's in the same calendar year, which is huge, as I've shared on this episode, on this podcast in the past as well. So I would have definitely put that. I wish I'd done that much sooner. What else sooner or differently? I also would have, I don't know how to say this in a nice way. I would have let someone go, both clients and contractor. Fired them both, if you will. Just fire the contractor, fire the client. When it's not working out, just pull the Band-Aid off a lot sooner. There's been 2 instances in the past 4 years that caused a bunch of stress and almost cost me my company in a sense. Emotionally, mentally, physically, I was so optimistic and hopeful that things were going to work out. And they have worked out, yes. But now that I have experienced those trials and tribulations, I would pull the Band-Aid off much, much sooner. And then lastly on sooner, which ties right into this, I'm working on getting better at taking breaks away from keyboard, vacations, sabbaticals, as we've talked about most recently, a couple episodes back. Just taking care of my own self-care, mental health, really doing that. I hadn't gone on a vacation in 2 years, and prior to that, it'd been like 5 or 6. So, I would do that. So regarding money, which is always a very popular question, the question is, do I make enough to support my family? What keeps me going every day? The answer is yes. At the moment, I am making enough money to support the family. My wife works, but it's just taking a hit there because of COVID and being a flight attendant. I'm not sure the same would be true if we lived in Southern California still, truthfully. Over the past few years, I've entertained when the recruiter reaches out to me or a recruiter reaches out via LinkedIn or whatever, and they've offered me jobs. I've taken about 2 interviews per year. If they're interesting enough for me to kind of reply to. I always reply politely, but none of those have met my requirements to shut down my operations. Working for myself is hard. I'm not going to lie to you. Anyone who does this knows. It's hard, it's lonely, it's frustrating, but it's still my thing. I get to control my day and pick the projects I want to work on for the most part. And those other jobs may have paid a lot more consistently. A paycheck would be nice, and benefits and insurance, all that stuff. I like my freedom. I like being able to call the shots. That said, my reply to recruiters isn't a straight no. It's very polite. I say, and I quote this, I say, I'm not looking for a job right now, but I am open to amazing opportunities. And if that interests them in my reply, then we continue a conversation. And it's polite. And I have requirements of salary. And if it still matches up, then I can move forward. If it doesn't match up, it doesn't move forward. It's that simple, really. I just know in my life where I'm at my age, what I want, what I need. I know what that is. And that's that simple. But, I'm not looking for a job, but I'm open to amazing opportunities. So another question that comes up a lot and I think about is what keeps me going. And I think about this a lot. Kids in college keep me going. I have one in college now, another one going in a year. Rent, food. So those things keep me going on a daily basis. I'm pretty regimented on my schedule. I try to keep time. I go to bed at a decent hour. I get up, I exercise. I'm at work at a decent hour. I take breaks during the day when I need them, a little nap here and there. But the family keeps me going. I mean, I'm just doing this. I enjoy it for the most part, but we'll get to the happiness in a minute there. So as far as tools go, people ask this all the time. What tools will I use? The business-related stuff. I've talked about that in length before. And trust me when I say I want to mention it here too, or I was going to mention it and go deeper here, how I run the agency, the business processes, the workflows. And I wanted to really dig into it. And it's not that I don't want to share. I do. But trust me, someone recently reached out about a month ago, and I was being peppered with a ton of questions. And I answered all of them, each and every one, by text message. Good friend of mine. And then they said at the end of this, half hour, 40-minute text messaging session, this information would make for a really good course for those starting out or setting things up for newbies. So as I've mentioned here on the podcast as well, I got to thinking that I like the idea of having a course and creating my own content and owning that. So stay tuned for that. As a matter of fact, if you have any interest in such a thing, a course, if you will, let me know what you would want in that course. Maybe let me know what you might invest in such course. Would be interesting as well. I definitely want to do more of that as well. It's a matter of the focus. Creating a course when this was asked to me about 2 months ago, I guess it's been maybe 3 months now, wasn't the focus because, I'll tell you what was the focus in a minute here. And I'm just really trying to plan my day, week, month, quarter, and pick the right thing to focus on at the right time. So any regrets? Am I happy? I'm not so sure I regret much. It doesn't seem to really help my mental state get better in any which way. I mean, you can't move forward if you're just thinking about the past all the time. So of course I say that out loud. I'm sure a therapist could find something that I regret if I went to therapy, that is. Happiness, I always say, is fleeting. But regarding the business and where things are at right now, yes, I'm happy at the moment. I'm really, really, really happy with the team I put together that works with me. I don't say they work for me. I mean, they do in a sense, but they work with me. They're awesome. They know who they are. I want to shout them out and give them a name, but I don't want anyone to go steal them away. So, but you know who you are if you're listening to this. And if and when we ever have in real life events again, WordCamps or any type of conference, I really want to bring them together for a company meal or something. It's the least I can do. They are an amazing group of people. I'm really, really happy there. I'm very fortunate, but it took a solid 3.5 years to find them. And, the failures before that and having to let people go, having people leave. But the team right now, solid. It's awesome. So what's next? What's in a year from now? 5 years from now? Wow. 5 years? I don't know. 1 year is just this. I'm on a niche down, like I mentioned before. I also probably will raise prices once we do that. I want to do more podcasting, in this case, new podcasts that I've been working on with ideas for years. And I want to grow my own passion projects. And backup speaker is one of them. That's my thing that I own. And that's what I was saying before a moment ago about setting up a course. Well, that sounded great 2-3 months ago, but I had to get backup speaker done. It took way too long. It took a year from when we came up with the idea to launching. And that's just because of life and situations and whatnot. So I also want to formalize some coaching and business coaching. Like I just went through this whole process with a friend via text messaging. Well, that can be a coaching service now. Same thing. And then the course. And most recently, I came up with an idea literally a week ago that is a 12-month type of project. I'm going to be very vague here, but I think it could be interesting to do and share and document. So, and also inspire people to take action in their own ways. So that's starting probably November, December for me to start sharing in January, and then every month have an episode about that. So kind of thing. So there you have it. It's been 4 years. It's been a heck of a journey. I've learned a lot. I've implemented things, albeit slower than I thought I would have liked to do. But it comes down to the quote I hear all the time. It's about progress, not perfection. Again, progress, not perfection. And, just working through all those little things, day to day, hour by hour, put in the work, just trust yourself that the process will work, but you got to have the overall process. You got to just put the time in. Nothing happens overnight. There's no such thing as an overnight success. So, I'm like 10 and a half, 11 years into WordPress, 4 years into the agency thing. And it's now finally kind of, knock on wood, going pretty darn well. So there you have it. Hope that's informational for you. Hope you have something to take away. And if you have any questions regarding this, by all means, reach out to me in any which way you want. Would love to talk to you, and that'd be awesome. So moving on to segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's tip, it's a tip. Oops. It's called Project Code Rush, The Beginnings of Netscape and Mozilla Documentary. It's over on YouTube. It's free, so I'll put a link in the show notes to you so you can see that. And it's pretty cool. I've watched about half of it so far. I'm kind of watching it piecemeal. But it's about the beginnings of Netscape and Mozilla, so pretty neat. Well, there it is. That's it for this week. If you have any questions, go ahead and send in via email, adam@kitchensinkwp.com, or use the speak pipe function of the website. Support the show, become a Patreon, sponsor the show. There's a form on the website. Thanks so much for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye. One last thing. Today, as I record this, it's my 22nd wedding anniversary as well with my loving wife. So happy anniversary to you, Ellen. Not that you ever hear this or listen to this, but I love you. Thanks for being here.